It was one of those blazing afternoons in Lagos where even the wind seemed too tired to blow. In the heart of Victoria Island, Jasmine Eza, a top sales manager at Grand Logistics Nigeria Limited, dragged herself into a quiet lounge near her office. After battling a delayed shipment, fraudulent paperwork, and back-to-back board meetings, her throat burned for something cold. Daniel Cole, a reserved but observant young man, dressed in simple slacks and a linen shirt, noticed her struggling to keep herself upright at the bar. "Can I get you something cold to drink?" he asked politely. She nodded absent-mindedly, barely able to focus on his face. Moments later, Jasmine began to feel lightheaded. Her vision blurred, her knees wobbled, and before she could say another word, she slumped forward. Daniel caught her just in time and quickly noticed something was wrong. This wasn't just exhaustion. He rushed her out, flagged down a ride, and brought her to his company's staff quarters just around the corner. When she came to, there was warm honey water beside her bed, and Daniel seated at a distance. "You were drugged," he said gently. "I think someone was targeting you." Her mind raced. Was it Monica, her rival from Sales Team 2, or someone bigger? Either way, she knew one thing. This wasn't a random incident. Jasmine returned to Grand Logistics the next morning, still groggy but determined to look composed. Whispers followed her down the corridor, and several colleagues refused to meet her eyes. Monica Adeyemi, the new deputy head of marketing, smirked from across the office and leaned in to whisper something to another colleague. Jasmine clenched her teeth and walked into her office. Shortly after, her boss, Mr. Bako, called her in. "Jasmine, I think it's best you take a few days off. You've been under a lot of pressure lately," he said with forced concern. She understood exactly what was happening. They were trying to push her out. Later that day, Daniel showed up outside her office with a folder. "You won't believe this," he said, handing her documents showing an order rerouted under her name. "This could ruin you." Jasmine's heart sank. Someone had forged her signature on a contract with a substandard supplier. "It's Monica," she muttered. "She wants my job." Daniel hesitated. "There's more. That night at the bar, I saw a man slip something into your drink. I think he's from Apex Transit, Monica's old firm." Jasmine stared at him. "And why are you helping me?" she asked. Daniel looked away. "Because I've been pretending to be just an assistant, but I'm not." Jasmine stared at Daniel like he had grown a second head. "What do you mean you're not an assistant?" she asked, her voice cold. Daniel exhaled and closed the door behind him. "I'm Daniel Cole, the only son of the founder of Dominion Warehousing Nigeria. I was sent to your company undercover by my father to assess potential merger partners. But once I got here, things changed." Jasmine folded her arms. "So, I was part of your little mission?" "At first, yes," he admitted. "But I didn't expect to find someone like you sharp, fearless, real." She wasn't sure if she felt flattered or manipulated. That evening, Jasmine stayed in the office long after everyone had gone. With Daniel's help, she combed through internal emails, delivery logs, and supplier reports. Patterns began to emerge. Multiple orders signed under her name. Some diverted to Apex Transit's warehouse, all with Monica's contacts in the background. She had been set up, and now she had proof. But what rattled her more was how easy it had been. One forged signature, one fake invoice, and the company she had sacrificed everything for nearly threw her away. She looked at Daniel, now dozing off on the couch in her office, and realized she had an ally for now. 2 days later, Daniel invited Jasmine to inspect Dominion's new cold storage facility in Ikeja. "It might help you think clearly," he said, trying to distract her from the looming board inquiry. Jasmine agreed anything to get away from the rumors swirling through Grand Logistics hallways. But as they stepped into the refrigerated unit, the metal door slammed shut behind them with a heavy clang. Jasmine spun around. "Is this a joke?" Daniel's face showed genuine panic. "That wasn't me." They were locked in no signal, no staff nearby. As minutes turned to hours, the cold seeped into their bones. Daniel took off his coat and wrapped it around Jasmine. "I think Monica did this," Jasmine whispered. "She wants to get rid of me permanently." Daniel rubbed her arms gently to keep her warm. "If anything happens to you," he began, but stopped. The chill and adrenaline made everything feel raw, honest. "You saved me," Jasmine said, her teeth chattering. "And I don't know why, but I trust you." As the cold thickened around them, their eyes locked. In that freezing moment, something warm ignited a confession without words. A Dominion staffer finally found them at 5 a.m. They were frostbitten but alive. The story exploded across the company circles the next day. "Did you hear? Jasmine and Daniel spent the night together in a freezer." Monica wasted no time spinning the narrative. By noon, Grand Logistics' internal audit team summoned Jasmine. "You're suspended pending investigation," the HR head said flatly. She didn't even argue. The setup was clear now. They wanted her gone before the quarterly partnership announcement with Dominion. Daniel, now publicly revealed as Dominion's heir, marched into Grand Logistics with his father's full backing. "If Jasmine Eze is not reinstated immediately, Dominion will terminate all supply contracts," he declared to the board. The room fell into stunned silence. Monica turned pale. Jasmine returned the next morning, not with shame but with quiet power. "I hope you all enjoyed your little coup," she said, walking past Monica. "Now, let's get back to work." She glanced at Daniel, who winked. The game had changed, and this time, she was no longer playing defense. Jasmine's reinstatement didn't sit well with everyone. Monica was livid, especially after being demoted to a support role pending her own investigation. Meanwhile, Daniel found himself cornered by his father, Chief Cole. "You're compromising our family's image," the elder man warned. "She's not your equal, and if this is about lust, end it." Daniel stood his ground. "She's not only my equal, she's better than most men you've hired. I'll stake our partnership on her." That night, he told Jasmine everything. "My father wants me to return to London and marry into the Daniels family to secure a merger. But I won't do it." Jasmine's heart tightened. She hadn't expected this kind of pressure. As a woman in Nigeria's male-dominated logistics industry, she had clawed her way to the top alone. "I don't need saving," she told Daniel. "I need a partner." But even as they stood together, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That evening, someone leaked a fake report online claiming Jasmine had used seduction to climb the corporate ladder. The timing was too perfect. Monica wasn't just fighting for a job, she was fighting for revenge. The next morning, Chief Cole summoned Jasmine to his private home in Ikoyi. "Let's speak woman to man," he said, pouring her a cup of zobo. "What are your intentions with my son?" Jasmine didn't flinch. "None of your business," she said flatly. "Your son makes his own choices. I don't want your fortune. I have my own." The chief laughed bitterly. "Pride is expensive in this country, madam. Be careful you're not the one who pays." As she got up to leave, he added, "Also, congratulations. You're pregnant." Jasmine froze. "Excuse me?" "We monitor our own," the chief said. "You've been to the hospital twice in the last week. You're carrying my grandchild. Whether you like it or not, you're part of this family now." Jasmine's mind spun. She hadn't even told Daniel yet, and now his father knew? She stormed out. Later that night, she stood outside Daniel's apartment. When he opened the door, she blurted it out. "I'm pregnant." His eyes widened. "I knew it," he whispered, then hugged her. "This changes everything," she said. "No," he replied, holding her tighter. "This changes nothing." At Grand Logistics' annual shareholders meeting, Monica made her final move. She took the stage with confidence, announcing Jasmine's alleged embezzlement of funds and abuse of power. "I have proof," she said, clicking through doctored spreadsheets and internal reports. Gasps filled the hall. Even Jasmine was momentarily stunned. But Daniel stood and raised his hand. "That data is fake, and I can prove it." He played surveillance footage of Monica sneaking into the finance office at night, copying files and editing documents on her laptop. The hall fell silent. Monica stood frozen. Before the security could even act, Jasmine approached the stage. "You tried to bury me with lies," she said, her voice calm, "but you forgot I always dig deeper." Monica was escorted out, her legacy in tatters. Jasmine turned to the board. "We've let office politics weaken this company. No more. If Grand Logistics is going to grow, it must be built on truth, not sabotage." The crowd erupted in applause. She had earned not just survival, but respect. The weeks that followed were intense. Daniel formally resigned from Dominion and announced plans to launch his own cold chain startup with Jasmine as co-founder. "We'll build something cleaner, smarter, and stronger," he said during their launch in Lekki. Meanwhile, Jasmine battled pregnancy symptoms while finalizing supplier contracts. She kept her relationship quiet, not wanting pity or assumptions about why she was succeeding. But people noticed. The fire in her eyes never dimmed. One afternoon, Daniel found her asleep at her desk, clutching a half-signed contract. He wrapped a scarf around her shoulders and whispered, "Rest. I've got you." She stirred, smiled faintly, then dozed again. Outside, the city roared on, unaware that one of the strongest women in Lagos was building an empire, one spreadsheet, one sleepless night, one stubborn heartbeat at a time. Months later, Jasmine gave birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Amara, meaning grace in Igbo. The launch of their company, Cool Nigeria, broke records in local logistics and earned praise for empowering more women in the supply chain industry. At a gala hosted in Abuja, Chief Cole walked over and lifted Amara in his arms. "I was wrong about you," he said to Jasmine. "This child, this legacy, you've made us proud." Jasmine and Daniel stood under the stars, away from the crowd. "Remember when we first met?" he asked. "You offered me honey water after I nearly passed out," she teased. "No," he said. "I offered you the honey water." They laughed. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real, built through betrayal, ice, fire, and fierce love. As they watched Amara giggle in her grandfather's arms, Jasmine whispered, "This time we write the rules." And Daniel smiled. "Let's begin."